Okay, we're live. We're live from Dublin. Hello, guys. Let me. Boom. Fine. Great. How are you today? Good. That's great. That's great. I am great. And happy new week after St. Patrick's. I know most people are not in Dublin, but if you don't know, last weekend was St. Patrick's Day. On Sunday, we celebrated that. We had the parade in Dublin. It was beautiful. A lot of foreign people, people going crazy. Huge lines to enter the pub and everything. But anyway, let's get down to business. We will talk about this guy here. Let me write it here. IELTS. This guy's preparation. IELTS overview. So any questions you have, you can ask me here. I will demystify this scary test. It's okay. It's quite simple once you get the hang of it. It's not hard. It's all about you. You have to trust in yourself. But this test, okay, IELTS, to take this test, you need to be at least upper intermediate. At least upper intermediate, because it's not so easy if you are a beginner. Okay, it's going to be very hard if you're just intermediate, and if you're upper, it's getting better. All right. So today we are going to do this whole overview and talk about the sections of IELTS. Remember that we have a course here about IELTS, and you can watch every class with some examples of exercises and everything else. But today we are going to break it down. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm here to talk to you. If you don't see this live, don't worry. We will answer that. You can comment. You can write anything you want. So let's talk about the overview, guys. What is the overview? Is talking about the test as a whole and talking about the sections. So I have here all the sections. Let's break them down. So the first one, I am going to give you tips, okay, throughout the sections. So the first section, guys, is what we call the listening. Listening. First section is just listening. The listening will be a bit long, so I advise you to pay attention, focus, super focus, okay? Focus completely on the listening, every single word they say. But before the listening, they will give you sometimes 40 seconds, sometimes 1 minute to look at the questions. So look at the questions so that you know what the listening is about before even listening to it. You know what the listening is about. You know what they will ask you. So you know what you have to pay attention to. That way, you're already prepared, so you don't need to be reading and listening at the same time, because that is very bad. You have to prepare the territory. You know what to do. You know what you have to focus on. So by the time they play the listening, which they can only do twice, so 2 times you're going to listen to that. No third time, twice. In the whole thing, preparation, listening, which is very long. Time for you to answer the questions. The whole thing is going to take 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah? So there are many exercises. Some are more important than others. Some will give you options. Some of them are multiple choice, A, B, C, D. You have to choose. Some of them, they ask you to fill a gap. You have to fill a gap. So we have a text, for example, talking about the listening, and you have to fill a gap. But this gap is not going to be the same word you hear on the listening. It's not going to be an exact copy, an exact text that they will be reading. So it's going to be different. It's all about interpretation. So pay attention carefully to that. Okay? Good. Moving on, guys. Remember, we have more than one exercise, gaps, multiple choice, and everything else. This section is going to take 30 minutes. So prepare yourselves, because the IELTS test is more about your resistance. It's more about endurance. It's more about how long you can think in English, you can produce. So hold on tight. Things are going to be long. Next, we have this part needs you guys to focus a lot. So again, everything needs focus, but this one is going to demand you more attention than anything else. It's the academic reading. The academic reading is more complex than the other part. The next part is going to be just reading. The academic reading is very tough. It's not, oh my God, it's impossible. No, you can do it, but you have to dedicate time and precision to that. Okay? The academic reading is about 60 minutes, which is 1 hour. So they give you time, but sometimes you have more than one text, more than one thing to read, an article, it doesn't matter what it's going to be, but it is very, very complex, let's call it, because it's an academic reading. So guys, academic readings require focus, precision, and academic writing. So sometimes you have to write something as well in those exercises. Mainly you have to fill gaps with the options they give you, sentences or whole paragraphs. Okay, so we have paragraph 1 and 3. Paragraph number 2 is missing. Which one of the options is the correct paragraph? So that requires you to grasp, to understand the whole information, the whole sequence of the text. And what they do a lot in this type of exercises, they actually give you options, but they add an extra option. So sometimes one sentence or one paragraph is extra you will not use. So be careful with that. Do not just go putting whatever you want, because you will have an extra one, and if that is a correct one, you have to review everything. So you have time, just don't play. Don't think of other things. Focus. 1 hour sometimes is not enough. So take your time to do that. Okay, don't play. Next. The other one is going to be general training. Okay, reading. Again, 60 minutes. This one is lighter than the academic reading, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. All right? The tips I gave you for the academic reading are more than enough for this one. Take your time, read calmly, and focus. Remember that this is general training, so it is going to be not easier, last harder than the academic reading. If you passed through the academic reading, you can survive this just fine. But now we have the academic writing. Ooh. "60 minutes." Again, another hour for this. So guys, what do we have so far? 30 minutes for listening, 60 for one academic reading, the other general 60. So we have 2 hours, 30 minutes, now 3 hours. So far, we are 3 hours and 30 minutes into the test. Don't give up. You're doing great. You've been doing great. You've been doing everything they throw at you. Keep going through this, okay? Now, what we have here, this word, this key word, academic writing. Tips for that: no slang, use of different words for the same thing. What is that? Vocabulary. You have to have a rich vocabulary. You cannot keep using the same word on and on. So let's say kids, you can use kids, children, offspring, depending on the context, offspring, children, kids, younger people, preteens. It depends on the context. You can use different words for it. Besides, you have to stop using just but to express contrast. But you can use however, though, although, on the other hand, so that those expressions to express contrast, we have different expressions to express addition. And don't use more than one end, because you can use also, in addition to that, plus. So those are just examples. Use a rich vocabulary. Academic writing also requires you not to use contractions. Don't use contractions. Remember that they ask you to deliver a specific number of words, and you cannot use contractions, which is better for you. So you cannot say I'm, you have to say I am. Don't, you cannot say, you have to say do not, does not, cannot, but cannot together is one word. Remember that. So there is that, okay? So be careful with that. Academic writing requires you to be professional. Think about writing an email to your boss in English. Just don't use slangs, don't use contractions, don't repeat words over and over again, and be careful with the spelling, be careful with the structure of the text. The structure. Remember, you have to have introduction, main idea, main paragraph, 1 and 2, and conclusion. Remember this. Next, we have general, just like the reading, we have general, okay, training. General training writing. Again, you guessed it, 60 minutes, one more hour for this. What is the general training writing? Well, remember that how to break it down completely. We have a course about this and more and different other tests. So we break them down class by class, giving you examples of exercises, what they ask. But in general, this is an overview. Okay, general training writing is about writing again, but it's going to require less focus. It's going to be less harder than the academic writing. Again, if you burned your brains in the academic writing, don't worry, take it slow. This one is going to be less harder. This one is going to be more relaxed. But don't forget, they give you 1 hour because you need 1 hour. All right? So don't relax completely. Okay, I can just sleep now. No, don't sleep on this test. Okay, remember this. But it's more chill. Let's say it's more chill, it's more okay than the academic. And last part, but not least, is okay, before I talk about the last part, remember that you've been doing this test for let me calculate. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hours and 30 minutes. 4 hours and a half. So you've been doing that for 4 hours and a half. You have to think in English. That's an obligation. Why? Because if you translate things in your mind, you waste time. So you're reading something, you're translating, you're writing, you're translating. Don't do that. Start thinking in English, and this will help you. Why? Because now we have speaking. This, oh my God, teacher, this is the easiest part because it's just 15 minutes, roughly, sometimes even less, sometimes 12, 13, 14. It's going to be easy peasy. No, that's where you make the most basic mistake. Do not get completely relaxed in the relation to the in relation to not having to work hard anymore. You have to work hard. This is the speaking now. You only have 15 minutes in general to do what they ask you. So don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Okay. Act naturally, but focus on what people ask you to do. Focus on what people tell you. This is a speaking, but it's also listening because they will ask you questions. They will ask you to do things, and you just have to listen to them and reply. Speaking. And why did I tell you to think in English before? Because now you have no time to listen to something, think in your language, translate, and just speak back because you're wasting time doing that. Just speak. Go for it. Okay? Don't translate things in your mind because you might get nervous. You might say something in your language. You might mispronounce something very basic like vegetables. You can say vegetables. I've seen people doing that. Relax, as in think in English, listen to what they say, pay attention, and reply. But don't relax completely in relation to the fact that it's over, the test is over. No, it's only 15 minutes maximum, but you have to give everything you have. This is the last part of the race. Think about this. You're running so well the whole race. You see the ending line. You see the last part. You start relaxing. No, you go for it with all you have. Now it's time to demonstrate what you have for speaking. Before, you had hours and hours to show what you have about comprehension, about writing, about listening, about reading. But now it's how you communicate. If you fail this part, I am sorry. You can't speak English because that's all a language is about. It is about speaking. You don't say, oh, I read English. You say, I speak English. I write English. I speak English. So guys, 15 minutes speaking. Remember, this is important. But again, we have 4 hours and 30 minutes focused on writing, on reading, and listening. 4 hours and 30 minutes you were covered with SEDA College Online. So go for the IELTS. Sorry, go for the IELTS course that we have here, and go to every other course we have because you're already training, you're already practicing listening, you're listening to the teacher, you're practicing reading because we have materials, we have subtitles, we have worksheets for you to do exercises, and writing with that as well. Also, don't forget that we have a course on the platform about writing, creative writing. So write as many pieces as you want, many texts, many essays. You have to practice that because during the test, they will ask you to write about something in specific. So you have to know about that. You have to give your opinion. You have to practice your writing as well. Okay, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much. And as always, guys, I'll see you next class. Don't forget, we have live classes every day on Instagram, on Facebook, and here on Tuesdays. So follow us in every platform ever. And don't forget that you guys are privileged here for having this live just for you. And we have the forum now for everybody to talk to each other. And have a nice week, guys. I'll see you next class. Bye-bye.